Today I'm joined by author and editor-in-chief of SEO Hacker, a blog all about providing the world with the latest information in the SEO industry. Welcome, Sean C.
Thanks for having me here, David.
Well, thanks
How
for
you
joining.
doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you. You're joining me all the way from Hong Kong, aren't you?
No, not really. I'm using Hong Kong time because we don't really say Philippine time, but I'm from the Philippines.
Got you. Okay, you were trying to throw me out there and pretend you were from a different country. Well, yeah, thanks again for joining me. And just with regards to SEO over the last few years, first of all, what would you say are the main ways that you think that SEO has changed over the past few years?
Well, I would say that it has changed a whole lot. I wasn't really a pioneer in the industry. I started in 2010, so you could say I'm one of the new waves of SEO because the SEO specialists before me, such as, Michael Gray, Rand Fishkin, they were able to see SEO evolve from, meta tags and all the technical SEO stuff that was happening way back during Yahoo's heyday. I really wasn't able to join that one. So 2010 was Google's age. That was the time that they dominated. And basically, I got into SEO when white hat SEO was the craze, and content was king even in SEO. And so you could say that I'm not really well versed in black or gray hat tactics. Although I have read some, I've tested some, but I wouldn't say I'm the best one to consult with that. So all of the strategies that we use for our clients, and most of my clients are local, are white hat strategies, which is all about creating content, making sure the landing pages are well written and very informative. Our link building is all manual. So I have people in link building team, and all they do every day is build links. So
that's funny that you focus on white hats, and that white hat's really what you know. With a name like SEO Hacker, you would think that that's a little bit more grey hat or black hat. Yes.
Yeah. Well, SEO Hacker, the name really rooted from a blog that I was following before, which is Life Hacker. It was a pretty popular blog before,
Sure.
and I was very interested in why they chose that name. So I researched around, and I realized they chose the word hacker because it means someone who wants to improve things or to tweak code. And I wanted to apply that to the way I'm learning SEO. You see, SEO Hacker didn't start out as a business; it started out as an online journal. So I just named it SEO Hacker. I wasn't really serious about carrying over that name to a business, which we did consequently. But really, it was supposed to be an online journal. And to continue on with your question about how SEO has changed, this year was the biggest move, in my opinion, that Google has done because of RankBrain. I don't know if you have observed how search engine results pages fluctuate these days, but they fluctuate a whole lot, especially in the top 1 to 5 spots. They fluctuate almost to the minute because 1 minute I type in a search query, and the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes I type in the exact query, and the rankings are different.
And do you think that's Google testing different things, or do you think that's just the algorithm that is changing much more often than it used to?
I think that's RankBrain at work because Google claims that RankBrain is a self-learning algorithm. So what it does right there and then is testing which of the search engine results in the top 5 spots or top 10 spots would get more click-throughs if it plays with it. So I think that's really RankBrain playing with the results and seeing who gets more clicks and who stays longer with that click, or who pogo sticks back to the search engine results and clicks on another link. So the testing that RankBrain does is really real time, and we could feel it, and then it learned from that. So but the other thing is, then it doesn't really solidify ranking. So once you're in the first place of that keyword, you're always in danger because RankBrain is always trying to test and switch. So it's really a game changer. I haven't seen a lot of articles written about it yet because Google has really not made anything about it too public. I mean, the ones that they just said is the third most important ranking factor. That's it. That's the most qualitative thing that they ever said about RankBrain. So there's not much written about it, but as far as I can see, it is very powerful indeed.
Certainly, in the past, it used to be possible to rank number one and then stay number one for a long time. I remember I've been number one for maybe 2 years for competitive keyword phrases in the past. But by the sound of what you're saying, that's going to be a lot more difficult in the future. How do you think RankBrain may impact results over the next few years?
Well, it will be able to qualify better who stays on top and who doesn't. So with all of these testings, I'm sure that RankBrain is gathering data every day, every single minute. It's gathering more and more data about more and more keywords. So if there is an obvious winner, it's much like ABN testing, right? If there is an obvious statistical significance in one test, then you declare that as the winner. And if the significance is so high, and I think RankBrain is just looking for that very, very high significance, it may declare one result as king for quite some time. I think that's possible, but that will be very difficult for us webmasters. That includes not just SEO as a practice, but now it also has a lot to do with user experience and conversion rate optimization and strategies of making the user stay for the long click and perform, a lot of user activity inside your website. I think it goes all the way to that. So now SEO is not just about backlinks and schema tags and metadata and site speed. It's all about all of that, plus the experience, plus how do you make them stay and how do you make them engage with your website, which is a lot more difficult.
And also, obviously, optimizing the traditional aspects such as your page title, your meta description, your click-through rate to begin with, but once people come through to your website, what kind of experience they have, whether or not it's relevant to the search result and the performance of your website as well. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, are there any other aspects of the RankBrain algorithm that you think that we haven't talked about so far that are very important for webmasters to be looking at now with a view to the future?
Well, if based from what I said from earlier, because that's just an observation of mine, right? I can't really prove that yet because I haven't run any tests, but I have seen it more often than not. That a search query has switched in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. It has switched places. So with that in mind, I think one of the things that webmasters can do is to make sure that their click-through rate from the search engine results page is as high as possible. It doesn't have to be their organic listing. It can be a knowledge graph listing. It can be a local listing. It can be well, not really a search ad listing because Google's AdWords team is very different than their organic rankings team. So I think all of the organic factors, such as the top 10 organic listing, the rich snippets, everything, once you get the click, what you need to do is make sure that your audience stays for the long click. So as webmasters, what you can do, optimize your title tag, the URL, the meta description, and when they land in the page, serve them exactly what they're looking for. So you see, this is where I am not agreeable with in terms of the long content, which is gaining more popularity, right? Mm-hmm. Long content is good, but then you're trying to cram everything in one page. So if the user has to, scroll a lot in order for the user to find what he or she is looking for, then chances are, if that user is lazy, or that user does not want to, go the extra mile to search for that stuff, he or she will just bounce off. So then that becomes a problem because you don't want users pogo sticking out of your website, especially now with the knowledge that RankBrain is checking click-through rates and it's checking the long click and it's checking user activity. So do everything to serve the exact content that your visitors are looking for, from whence they came from the search engine results page all the way until they download that catalog or they run the tool in your website. If you're able to do that consistently, then having a statistical significance that will merit the first place doesn't seem so hard anymore. But if you're not able to do that, then chances of you getting ranked down is also very high.
Okay, so getting there isn't that difficult, but staying there is harder.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get a few predictions from you around what the future web might look like with regards to social media and website design and areas like that. And I noticed that you are quite active still on Google+. Are there merits still from an SEO perspective to be active on the social aspect of Google+?
Well, I think it's more of the community that I'm really trying to be active there. It's not really for any ranking factors per se, because I have no real data that Google Plus has a ranking advantage. Although that would be the obvious case, right? Because Google owns Google Plus. But we really have no concrete data that being on Google Plus will give you more positive rankings than being on Twitter or Facebook. So the reason why I'm there is mostly because the community there is more interested in digital marketing and in what I have to say. My Facebook is more for my personal life, and my Twitter is more for it's a little bit like Google Plus, but then I get to interact with more influencers over Twitter. So that's really why I'm in Google Plus, like a secondary Twitter of mine, where I get to keep everything, because my Twitter feed is like it's very fast. I really don't know what happened yesterday because it's done. So I need to scroll down a lot with Twitter, but with Google Plus, I can see the history.
So do you think you're still going to be using Google Plus in 4 years' time?
Oh, I think so, especially when the announcement came that they're switching strategies. They're making it more community-based. So I don't think that Google Plus will fade off. I think it has strong communities in there, and one of those is for digital marketing. And I don't see myself going out of Google Plus either. So I would say in 4 years' time, yeah, sure, I think I'll still be in Google Plus.
And from a web design perspective, what do website designers actually need to be thinking about to ensure that their website is as relevant and useful and user-friendly to users as possible in 4 years' time? Is it mobile first, or are we also going to have to think about really big screens in the future, maybe?
Well, the data now suggests that mobile users spend a lot less than desktop users. And that's really because, in my opinion, desktop users have, in general, more money. That's why they were able to buy desktops. And why mobile has been increasing by a lot, because mobile is super cheap compared to a desktop computer. And it's available, it's available here in the Philippines. People like security guards have smartphones, and maids have smartphones. So now they can access the internet. So the reason why desktop spending is much higher than mobile spending is because the ones with desktops are the guys like me, the guys with the credit cards, the guys with, the ability to spend online. So I think mobile first is good if you're trying to attract eyeballs, like if you're in the publishing industry. But if you're trying to make a sale, if you're trying to sell a product, if you're trying to sell a subscription, then the market to go to really are the desktop users. That's not to say that you shouldn't make your website mobile responsive, because we all know that Google does not like non-responsive sites. And it was very evident, especially with the latest study by SEO Sherpa, wherein they said that having a non-mobile friendly website will really get you down gradually in rankings. Now, I can't really say what web designers should do, but I can say what they shouldn't do moving forward. And that is try to keep away from home pages that have little to no content. And from home pages that try to grab the content out of all the other supposed sub pages. And one big example is the parallax homepage, wherein all of the other supposed inside pages, the contact form, the about us, the some of the products are already in the homepage. And so what happens is people don't link to other pages inside the website, and all you have is one homepage, and it's just too thin, you know. So that one definitely don't, because you're not gonna win in SEO, and SEO is just getting more and more competitive because everyone's going to the web, everyone's going online. So that one I think they shouldn't do moving forward. Another thing that I think web designers shouldn't do moving forward is I don't know if you still see these kind of websites, but there are still websites that load right before you can use them. Like there's a literal loading bar on the screen, and that's really not good, because what Google wants is the website should be used immediately after loading. And how we can prove that is the studies for site speed. We can see that Google really prioritizes websites that users can interact with immediately, rather than websites that wherein users have to wait a long time. Yes, there is the time to first byte study, wherein the ones who are able to load for time to first byte gets a higher ranking.
You started off there by saying that you thought users with bigger screens had more money to spend. There were less of them, but potentially financially beneficial for the business. Does that mean that you think that SEO in the future will be more quality focused rather than quantity focused? In the past, it used to be getting as many users as possible, ranking general keyword phrases at the top, and just driving volumes of traffic to the site. Will we be seeing SEOs more focused on just a few targeted visitors being driven to the website?
I wouldn't say that it's not going that way, because with some industries here in the Philippines alone, I have already experienced that, in the sense that the industry has become so competitive, so we can't really vie for first place, but we're in the first page, and so we don't get as much traffic as the ones on top. But the websites of those that are ahead of us in rankings, they look a little bit worse, and the user experience is a little bit worse, and we made sure that ours is almost perfect, I would say, but that, again, that's my opinion. So we improved the conversion rate of our website, and we get a lot of leads, even with the small amount of traffic that we're getting. So I could say that SEO isn't really 100% moving to being quality driven, because quantity is still important, right? And there's two ways to increase your leads, and that is either to increase your traffic or to increase your conversion rates. I would say that now it's a combination of both, because before people were so focused on just increasing the traffic. But really, when you try to increase your conversion rate, then your traffic makes more sense, because the results of your website becomes colossal. And I can only say it in words right now, but when you see the numbers, it really makes a lot of sense to increase your conversion rate. So it's not really just about having so much search traffic coming in, although that's sweet, right? Because search traffic is always relevant. But increasing conversion rates now becomes just more than just making more money and just making more leads. Increasing conversion rates now means that you also increase your search rankings, because now when you try to increase your conversion rates, then you improve the experience of your user. Consequently, it's a natural consequence of it. And when you improve the experience of your user, then they stay a little bit longer in your site, then they share your site, then they do a lot of things in your site that are signals to Google, and maybe even to RankBrain.
So you talked about still getting some traffic from appearing on the first page of Google there, but certainly on mobile we're seeing ads at the very beginning, and then you almost have to scroll to see the organic results. We've seen the ads removed on the right-hand side of Google. So a few changes in the SERP over the last year, or a few months of 2016. What are your thoughts on how the SERP might evolve over the next few years?
Well, here's the thing. I think people are generally getting smarter. And I think ads are just not catching up. What I mean is, for example, my 1-year-old son, he already knows how to navigate the iPhone. I don't know how that happened, but he does know. So he knows what applications trigger his baby music, for example. So kids are smarter today. And I could say that my generation, I'm with the millennial generation, I'm 27. Our radar for ads is very strong. We just know when it's an ad and we won't click it and we won't go to that. So no matter how Google tries to attract clicks from ads from us, I don't see it happening that the ad click-through rate would just increase, right? Because we know that it's an ad and Google has to disclose that it's an ad. And so people in the future would be able to predict more, would be able to know more that, hey, I shouldn't be clicking on this. Where's the organic results? So organic would always have traffic. They would always have a need, especially because people are smartening up. Another thing is, with the advent of rich results, local listings, star ratings, even the knowledge graph, and Google is serving all of these organic results, it's also counterintuitive to how they earn revenue, unless, of course, they can make a way for people to run ads in the knowledge graph or to run ads in the star ratings or in the local results itself, which is crazy, right? Because right now those rich results have very limited spaces. But then if someday, because I can only see it that Google will allow ads in those rich snippets because they really have to earn from that. And it's counterintuitive because it's killing their ads as well. So someday, not too long from now, they would allow us to run ads from those spots. But because people are smartening up, they just won't click that. And I think that ads is important now just for branding recall. Like, oh, I've seen this organic result somewhere, and then we remember that, oh, it's from an ad. So I think that ads will be important for recall, not really for click-throughs.
So when you talk about organic results, I noticed that you only talk about Google. Do you think that we will see more competitors in the search space? Will we see more users using Bing and other search engines in the future?
That's a very interesting question. I think that the only reason why people will switch to Yahoo or Bing is when Google does something really nasty or they trip and they make a mistake, a huge mistake. And the reason behind that is we all know that Yahoo and Bing is just trying to copy what Google is doing. I mean, there are very, very small and how do you say this? Very small breakthroughs that they're going with in terms of innovation. So almost everything that that Yahoo and Bing has done is because Google has done it before. The links, the pogo stick study, the long click study. So they're just catching up, and so that's also the reason why Google is still very dominant in the search space. I think that competitors will crop up, but not in the sense of trying to compete on the global search space. Maybe in the local or in the niche search space, like DuckDuckGo, or Baidu and Yandex and Naver. So I think it's very possible to compete with Google in terms of having a local search engine. Maybe if it's in a different language, then it makes sense. But if you're going to compete with Google globally, I think that's a very, very tough thing to do. And people who are starting to do that are, light years away from what Google has. They have it all set up.
And one thing that SEOs struggle with at the moment is cross-device attribution. So you've got users using loads of different devices, mobile, tablets, desktop, perhaps even some big screen in their living room as well to view the same website. Do you think that it will get any easier for SEOs in the future to be able to actually measure, hopefully, which visitors are the same ones and credit finding out about a website to an organic visitor who visits your website, first of all, through a mobile and then purchases later on via desktop or vice versa?
Right. I hope so. I honestly hope so. That's my answer, because it really is a pain point today, right? I think everyone will agree it's a pain point today to identify who, where, how, what medium. So I hope that Google will be able to find a way to do that. I'm definitely loving the customer analytic tools that we have right now in the market, such as Xpanel, Kissmetrics, although they're very expensive, if you ask me, but they can identify who the user is. So long as the user logs in, again, that's how do you say it? Difficulty right there, because we need the users to log in order to identify their journey. I have used Woopra. I'm not entirely sure if you're familiar with it, but it's like Kissmetrics and Mixpanel.
Sure.
And whenever someone would log in my software, I run a SaaS company. Whenever someone would log in, what Woopra would do is it would record it, and it would put a cookie in the user's browser. So the cookie would also translate to the user's mobile and tablet browser if he or she is using the same browser. For example, he or she is using Chrome, and he or she is logged in on all devices. Then the cookie would, and there's also the setting. If the user has allowed the cookie to be the same in all browsers, then we would be able to identify that user, whether he or she is using a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile. But that's best case scenario, because not everyone is logged in all of his or her own devices using the same browser. So I think it's going to be very difficult, and I think that's maybe give and take 3 to 5 years from now. Hopefully not, but I definitely don't see Google Analytics being the one to do it, because Google has already known about Kissmetrics and then Mixpanel and Intercom.io. They already know it, but they're not doing anything to replicate customer analytics the way that all of these other private companies are doing it. So I don't think that Google Analytics will do it. And I think if they would do it, they wouldn't give it for free. So then there's the difficulty of having a budget for that.
Well, it's all a big challenge for us SEOs, but it's good fun at the same time. Perhaps we need to continue doing best guess scenarios rather than accurate data as well. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us today, Sean. Just to conclude, what do you think businesses need to be doing now, just as a summary, that will still be valid in the year 2020?
Well, I don't think Google will go anywhere. In fact, I think Google is a company that's here to stay, unless the internet suddenly is destroyed by nuclear destruction, which is very unlikely. So I think by 2020, people are still searching using Google through the internet. So businesses today, what they can do in order for them to be successful online is to tune in, to what Google is doing, the algorithm changes they're releasing, and try to be on top of that, try to be on top of their game, because SEO is a zero-sum game. When someone's going to rank up, someone's going to rank down. So you always want to be optimizing every day. That's what's important about SEO. The moment you start optimizing, don't stop. The moment you stop, your competitors are going to creep in. They're going to take your ranking. That's fact. That's the truth. And so for businesses that have already started, keep doing what you're doing. Make sure that you're doing your SEO legitimately. Follow Google's guidelines. One other thing that you can do if you're already doing good SEO is try to focus on conversion rate optimization. Study your visitors. There's lots of tools out there that you can use for user activity capture, such as InspectLed, Hotjar, Unbounce, Optimizely, definitely Google Analytics. We use queries for surveying our customers. That's a SaaS company that I started. So use all of these tools to learn more about your users and how you can serve them better and how you can make them stay, and how, of course, you can turn them into a lead and get ROI. So there are so many things. Plus, in order to retain customers, you need to make them sign up in the newsletter. Or if you're not the newsletter type, then there's push notifications. We use Push Crew for that. So if you notice, if you go to SEOhacker.com, the website asks you if you would allow us to send you notifications. And so we use Push Crew to do that. And I think in 3 months, we already have 3,000 plus subscribers. So it's a lot easier to get subscribers from there than from an email opt-in. But there is no offer. Like, you can't offer them an ebook or anything. It's just you're asking them to allow you to send notifications to them. But that's definitely one thing that you can do to retain visitors.
And
so
what kind of impact does that have? How do people interact with the notifications after you send them?
Well, some of them have no idea how to opt out. So that's funny, right? Because they opted in, they clicked the OK button, but then they have no idea how to opt out. So I've received very few inquiries how to opt out from there. And it's just as simple as going to your settings with whatever browser you're using and then turning off push notifications from my website. But generally, how people interact with that is they actually go back to my website. So out of the 3,000 subscribers, I think 20% of them actually click back to my website. So that's 600 people at any given push notification that I send at a time. So that's a lot, and that's very interesting because it can almost compete with my email newsletter. So that's one quick hack that business owners can do right now.
That's intriguing. Well, I'm sure you could share so many more valuable thoughts, but you have offered a lot of great information. So where can people go if they'd like to find out more about you?
Well, SEOhacker.com is definitely the resource place to go for if they want to pick on my brain, because I write everything about SEO and conversion rate optimization and retaining users there. If they want to know more about me as an entrepreneur, how I started up my company, how our core values have failed and why we needed a new one, all those startup blog entries are in my personal website, and that's in seanc.org. So they can go there. Yeah, those two are the main things that they can find out more about me. If they want to use the software that I'm using for gathering customer feedback, go to queries.com. That's spelled as QERYZ.com. It's a free tool, and we use the freemium model. So if you need more responses per month, the upgrade is very cheap. It's just $15 a month.
Lovely. Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me, Sean. It was great.
Likewise. Thank you for having me, David.